Now then, I'd like to take a much closer look today at PhD's full range of down half bags. Half bags, or pied elephants as they were known by some people, are a half sleeping bag designed to cover the lower half, insulate the lower half, so insulate your legs, insulate your feet, and to work with, they're designed to work with a down jacket for the top half to keep you warm overnight. They were devised originally by alpine climbers, rock climbers working in the European Alps, and they were designed to sleep in overnight on a bivvy ledge halfway up a climb. The issue was trying to take as light a rucksack as possible and as small a rucksack as possible, and have a system that would keep you warm enough to get through the night and then to be able to carry on in the morning. So they're very much designed originally as a bivvy system. They call them pied elephants because they're an elephant foot design, as it were. They're designed to cover the lower half, cover your feet, cover your legs, insulate your feet, insulate your legs overnight, and then you would use the clothing. A down jacket is typical nowadays. The design idea was to use a down jacket as your top half. You're taking a down jacket anyway, so really you just needed a half a sleeping bag to insulate you overnight. But the design there was very much as a bivvy. Of course, nowadays, looking for adventure, whether it's in mountaineering situations, ski mountaineering situations, trekking, ultralight backpacking, or bike packing and running, of course, very lightweight runners. Everybody who's going into adventure sport, who's looking to cut weight, has got an interest in half bags. The simple fact is that they're much lighter and much smaller pack down size to put in your rucksack. I've got the full range here today, and we're going to look at the range going from the lightest, the wafer half bag, a really lightweight piece of equipment, all the way up to our zero half bag, and it's a very warm piece of expedition equipment, really very unusual. Now, PhD has probably got the largest range of half bags in the world. We've developed a very broad range of bags because nowadays there's a very broad range of uses for them. Also, there's a very broad there's an interest in using half bags for bivvying, for camping, but also for part of a sleep system. So in other words, using a half bag inside a full bag. So using a full sleeping bag, using a half bag inside it to boost the lower half, and using the down jacket inside your sleeping bags. I've got some figures for me. There's so many figures that I want to talk about, so many temperature figures here that I want to talk about. I really just put them down on paper. So we're going to look at the wafer half bag first. We're going to work right through the range of bags and finish up with the warmest. So this one here is the wafer half bag. Let me just get my figures out. I need to look at them to remind myself. It's an incredibly lightweight piece of equipment. I'll just get my figures. I've had to write them down. Yeah, so this is the wafer half bag. It's a very lightweight piece of equipment. It's essentially a half bag version of a filler bag, and the idea of this has got significant use for boosting the warmth of a sleeping bag. I'll run through the figures for you. So the weight of it, just 165 grams. It packs down into a very small stuff sack. It weighs 165 grams, so a very lightweight piece of equipment. I'll give you the temperatures. I'll give you the camp temperature first. Now, when I say camp temperature with a half bag, what I'm talking about is using it instead of a full sleeping bag, and looking for it to give you a full night's sleep. That's not the same with a bivvy. A bivvy temperature is where you're looking at how cold, what sort of temperatures can you get to, and have a reasonable night of dozing and get through warm enough to carry on with your climb or your expedition in the morning. But when I'm talking about camping, I'm talking about proper sleep, deep sleep, where you get full deep sleep. In other words, replacing the typical use of a sleeping bag. So I've got two temperatures here plus another temperature to talk about. We've got more details on each of our product pages of our half bags. So if you want to really look at the detail of the wafer bag, have a look at the product page, and there's videos on there and more information on exactly what that half bag will do for you. I'll just run through the short version of the details here. So the half bag, the wafer half bag, it weighs 165 grams. Camp temperature, you're looking at 10 degrees C. So in the UK, summer temperatures, summer trekking and lightweight use in the summer. So 10 degrees C would be its use. Now that is with a suitable top half, so you've got to have a down jacket or an insulated jacket that's warm enough to keep up with it. But 10 degrees C is a camp temperature. Bivvy temperature, well, 5 degrees C is typical, down to about 0 for some people. So 5 degrees to 0 is the sort of area you would use for bivvying. So incredible, 165 grams, and you can take it down into 5 degrees C and below that. And then if you were going to use this inside your sleeping bag to boost the warmth of your sleeping bag, you can get an added warmth. I'll talk of that in terms of added warmth it gives to your sleeping bag. It gives you the potential there is an added 10 degrees C lift to the bag you've got. So it's absolutely amazing, a very, very impressive piece of kit. It works like a filler bag. It works to give added insulation, and it works to cut down convection currents moving around or airspace in the bag. It fills it just like a filler bag. So the wafer half bag, very impressive, lightweight piece of equipment. I'm going to be careful not to let these blow away. Right, the next sleeping bag I've got here, the next half bag I've got here is the Alpine Ultra bag. Very interesting piece of gear. Again, very impressive on its temperatures. This one's made in ultra shell because that's a water resistant fabric. Now, let's just have a look at it. I'll give you the details. It weighs 250 grams, just 250 grams. So it's a very, very lightweight piece of equipment. Camp temperature is 3 degrees. So you could use this for a lot of UK camping. You know, you could use it certainly 3 season. So from late spring through summer and autumn down to 3 degrees. So a really impressive piece of kit, as long as you've got a top half, a jacket that works with it. Camping 3 degrees C, bivvying down to -10, really remarkable. But this piece of kit, only 250 grams, and you can bivvy in it down to -10. So Alpine Ultra bag, Alpine Ultra half bag is probably our most popular half bag because it's such a lightweight piece of kit and you can use it down to quite low temperatures. Now, the added warmth. If you use this inside a sleeping bag as a sleep system to boost the warmth of it for your legs and your feet, and you used a suitable jacket for the top half, the added warmth is 15 degrees C of lift, 15 degrees C of added warmth. So if your sleeping bag is a 0 degree bag, has a 0 degree centigrade bag, and you add this to it, you're going down to -15 with it. So it's a very, very impressive piece of kit, our most popular one. Let's have a look. Now, I'll just show you this one while I'm able to. This is a very similar piece of kit. Just put my list under my bottom so it doesn't blow away. This is a specialist piece of gear called the Desert Race half bag. It was designed when I designed this when I'd been talking to people doing the MDS, the Marathon des Sables Desert Race. The Marathon des Sables in the Sahara is, of course, essentially running a marathon a day in the desert, and the people running in the race have to sleep overnight in a tent. They have to carry everything. They carry their sleeping bag, they carry their food for a week, they carry their fuel and their cooker and so on, and their food for a week, and so they're looking at going as light as possible. Now, the half bag idea for a desert racer is again that straightforward idea. Can you go with a lighter sleeping bag? Can you go lighter and a smaller pack down size? Because if you're running, you really concentrate on how small, how light can you carry, and how small a rucksack can you get so it isn't impeding on you while you're running. So the idea of this is simply that you use a half bag and a down jacket or a lightweight insulated jacket for your top half. This has got the same fill as the Alpine Ultra bag. I'll be quiet a minute, we've got a plane going ahead. Yeah, so the idea of this, the Desert Race half bag, was that it is the same warmth as the Alpine Ultra bag, so you can camp down to 3 degrees. Desert Race is the MDS, the typical operating temperature we look at, or the nighttime temperatures we're looking at, is about 4 degrees. It's cold, 4 degrees today actually, had to scrape the ice off the car. It's 4 degrees and there's a wind, so it feels really raw. And the idea here was to go as light as possible. So we've gone with a lighter fabric, but there's also one other difference here. When you're on the MDS, the tents that they use, which are set up for you, they don't have any sides to them. They're more of a canopy type tent without sides. So if the wind picks up overnight, it can blow through the tent, and you're really aware of that when there's sand in the air and so on, sand on the move. So with this half bag, we added a sand gaiter or an extension chute, sits on the inside, and that simply can be pulled out. It's shoulder length. It can be cinched in around the shoulders, and it cuts any cold air, wind, and it also cuts sand out. It prevents sand getting into all your gear. So it's got I call it a sand gaiter really. It's an extension chute. Particularly, the idea of it particularly is based on the problem of sand blowing through the camp, through your tent at night. So that's a specific design that was done for marathon disciplers or desert racers, and this weighs 240 grams. So that is a lighter version of the Alpine Ultra, specifically designed for desert racing, as light as we can make it. It hasn't got, for instance, it doesn't have water resistant fabric on the outer. You don't need it in the desert, so dry. So we've been able to go lighter in the fabric, and then we've been able to add an extension chute or a sand gaiter on the sleeping bag. There's been enough in it, it's light enough to still get the whole design under 240 grams, so absolutely fabulous. Again, it could be used that is a very nice piece of kit to use inside to boost the warmth of a sleeping bag. So to use it in a sleep system. Let's go one up. Right, now we're getting a little bit bigger, we're getting into more serious mountaineering bags. This is the Hisbar half bag. Let me just get my figures. I've sat on my figures because it's so windy. It's a windy day today. Right, let's have a look at it. The Hisbar bag, 350 grams. Again, the half bags are designed to come up to your midrib, to your tummy, and the back is higher, so that if you sat like I am, if you sat up to making a brew or cooking or something like that, if you sat upright, you need a higher amount. The bag comes up round the back of your kidneys to really prevent cold air getting in there. They all cinch down the same. They're all designed to go over the top of your clothing, over the top of a down jacket, and cinch in around it. Very simple fail-safe. It won't break down. It's not like something is going to fail you here. It's just a simple cord and cord lock system. Let me just go through the details. The Hisbar half bag, 350 grams, very, very lightweight piece of kit. It's a box wall construction, this one. So far the other bags are stitched through. That is for lightness. Now we're getting into needing much more down to make it warm. 350 grams, camp temperature. If you're replacing a sleeping bag and you just want a half sleeping bag and you want to sleep in it, so the camp temperature, -7 degrees C. The bivvy temperature down to -15. So for bivvying on ledges and so on, down to -15, an amazing piece of kit, 350 grams. Now the added lift, if you're going to use this inside another sleeping bag, and you were going to use your down jacket inside your sleeping bag to make you warmer, and you were going to use a half bag as part of your sleep system to improve the insulation around your legs and your feet, the added lift that you get from here is 27 degrees C, so plus 27 degrees centigrade. If your sleeping bag is 0 degrees C, use this inside with a suitable down jacket, and now you're looking at a sleep system for -27 degrees C. Really impressive piece of kit. So that's the Hisbar. We're going to go up in weight. Now this is the Denali. The half bag. This was designed because somebody talked to us about whether they could use a half bag for doing Everest Base Camp, and I hadn't really considered it before, but this client talked to me about it, and I just felt, yeah, there's possibly a good use for this here. There's a good idea for making this design, and my top bag is my zero half bag is much warmer, so overkill really for Everest Base Camp. So we came up with the Denali half bag. I'll run through these features. So 570 grams in weight for that half bag, let's look at the temperatures. Camp temperature -13, so really good for an Everest base camp type trek. -13 degrees C, that's the sleeping temperature, the camp temperature if you're replacing a full sleeping bag and using a down jacket for your top half. The bivvy temperature here, -22, so a very substantial piece of kit. Boxall construction, of course. Now, there's one other detail I'll show you on this. We've added an extension chute on this, and this extension chute comes right up. It's going to fill up with air, look. It's not a bad idea to show you. And it's got a hood. It's like a traditional sleeping bag hood round you, and you can cinch it down just like a sleeping bag. So on these bags there's 2 cinch points, one round the waist there, so you can cinch it in and seal in the warmth, and another one around the hood here. So this is the ultra shell fabric. Again, that's ultra shell fabric, water resistant fabrics to help with condensation. When you don't use this, and if you don't want this extension, it just lives inside the sleeping bag. Your feet go beyond it to the base of the bag. It doesn't impede you at all, it's just on the inside. It's a very flexible system. The idea of the extension chute there is to really cocoon your body and stop cold air drafts getting to you. So that's a very, very impressive piece of kit. Lightweight piece of kit, lightweight sleeping system, isn't it? Or an approach to sleeping at 570 grams. Now let's just have a look at the warmest of the bags, and that's the Zero sleeping bag. Again, we were asked to design this, and we've seen them being used in high altitude situations, mountain skiing, ski mountaineering and that type of thing. So it's a really adventurous piece of kit. Let me get this list out again. Right, so let's have a look at it. The Zero, it's the most technical to build. It's Boxall construction, it's got side V panels around it. It's a very advanced piece of kit, but it's a half bag, so you're really saving a lot of weight in what you're getting. Let's have a look at the figures again. The Zero, 725 grams. What does that give you? Well, camp temperature -30 degrees C, so you're really talking very extreme adventures here, and a bivvy temperature of -40, so you're really on high altitude idea of bivvying. Let's just run through a couple of other details with it. We've got an extension chute on this one. Again, this one actually comes to the shoulders and it cinches down around the shoulder. The idea is to pull it in and prevent drafts, cold air running across your skin. That's the real reason for that, is just to stop air movement around you, because just to really try and improve your sleep or your dozing in low temperatures, just try to cut the temperature. I'll just finish off looking at this really extreme range. That's the Zero. Let's see if I can find the wafer. There you are. Those are the two, the lightest and the heaviest, or the lightest and the warmest. The wafer, 165 grams, and that is definitely a piece of equipment that is really advanced in terms of pushing the ideas of adventure in the way that you sleep overnight and bivvying and camping and so on. 165 grams, typical temperature for camp or sleeping in place of a sleeping bag, 10 degrees C. And a bivvy, well, you can go down to about 5 degrees C, possibly down to 0 degrees C. It depends on the top that you've got as well and what other layers you've got with you. But that's the sort of temperatures you could consider. So an amazing piece of bivvying kit, tiny little 165 grams, just a very light piece of fabric and down. So simple, very, very lightweight, very packable, but amazing what you could sleep out with and bivvy with. Remarkable. And then if we look at the warmest, the heaviest of them, the Zero bag, 725 grams, camping at -30. One note here, just of caution, is that one note to add here is that's a very warm piece of equipment. to sleep out, to have a jacket that's warm enough to keep up with it, you're looking at very significant warmth in the jacket. So for me, you would pair the Zero jacket, a PhD Zero jacket, which is designed for high altitude mountaineering or polar exploration, or you would use something like the Omega, which is even warmer. It's the warmest jacket in the world. There we are. There's a look at PhD's range, specialist range of down half bags. Cheers.